everyone, it's Olga Yarshevsky, head of content for NexChange Group. And as a natural follow-up after the MetaWeek Summit in Dubai, I'm here with Vlatko Gigov, CEO of Earn.games, to talk about his journey, about Earn.games, and the current situation with gaming industry, metaverse, and related communities. Hi, Vlatko, how are you?
Hi, Oya. Pleasure to be here. I'm fine, thank you. How are you doing?
Very well, thank you so much. I know that you're still in.
Excellent.
I know that you're still in Dubai. How's it going in Dubai now?
It's pretty hectic. I mean, it seems like everyone in the gaming slash new momentum of gaming space and the crypto space is kind of pouring in here. So it's pretty fun times to be in Dubai.
Exciting, exciting. Well, I would like to start our conversation today with your personal journey. Can you tell us about your background and why did you eventually choose blockchain and gaming?
Well, my background, I'd say it's pretty boring. I started my career in finance, but after like 3 months in corporate banking, decided to quit. Didn't really find myself in there. Then went into entrepreneurship, more on the app development side and cybersecurity. Did that for about a couple of years, then decided to exit. It was pretty interesting times. After that, I joined a permanent mission into the United Nations in Geneva. Worked there for about a couple of years to understand the actual environment in international politics and geopolitics. That was quite interesting. And then a friend of mine invited me to operationalize a satellite internet business in Mexico, and did that for about a couple of years. And the natural step or leap, I should say, more from that business straight into crypto and blockchain in about 2015, 2016. So I've been in the space for quite some time now. I have seen quite a few remarkable events, I would say. And as you all guys may know, it does move at lightning speed, and a lot of changes, a lot of new moments are being introduced, reevaluated, new entrants are coming in, bad actors are kind of getting flushed out, and yeah, it's pretty exciting to be involved in crypto and blockchain.
Well, I guess the more diverse the background is, the more interesting for all of our, all of the people inside this industry to actually be there and to compare different ecosystems, different industries, and different backgrounds, including geopolitics too. Given the technology narrative, why do you think blockchain is actually the technology that disrupts and have been disrupting the gaming world? As far as I understand, what changes the game here is actually the fact that people are now able to own their assets and trade and use them not only inside the gaming ecosystem or the gaming world, but outside of it too.
That's correct. Blockchain itself as an industry, I mean, it sits at the infrastructural layer and provides an immutable ledger of recording whether a value or an asset or anything of sort that cannot be broken and is attributable to the person owning the private keys. Thereafter, it's his or her or that group's belonging. And it's quite similar in the gaming space, I would say. We didn't really need blockchain or anything else to have those secondary markets of assets that are being traded and have been in liquid marketplaces elsewhere. You have World of Warcraft, for example, which has a healthy secondary market. Obviously, these suits are kind of centralized. The new momentum in the play to earn, as they call it these days, is definitely Axie Infinity. Before that, you had suits like CryptoKitties, which are kind of like the predecessor of these events. Of course, it is not perfect, but they do pave the road and establish the rules of the game of what is actually going to happen with all the various different types of games and in-gaming assets that now could be traded, easily recorded to a person's profile, and then monetized in different various functions. With that being said, the play to earn gaming ecosystem, which is kind of like in its nascent stages, it's actually going to put a frontal battle to the legacy gaming houses, publishers, developers, groups like Activision, Blizzard, and all the other major suits out there. Since the only reason why these guys are so powerful is because gamers, no matter what age they are, they're paying thousands of dollars per year in order to play these games and have fun. Whereas that value, it's actually trapped within those corporations, not evenly distributed across the whole ecosystem. And this is the new moment. I think it's a very good use case for blockchain and crypto and distributed ledger technologies, because it will provide an opportunity for passive incomes for the youth and adolescents to actually monetize their entertainment / gaming time.
So this looks like a very much the democratization of the whole process, right? And the true financial inclusion in terms of, new generations and new layers of users and gamers coming into that space, which is awesome. By the way, is there any difference, or maybe are there any preferences in geographical sense? What are the biggest markets now? And maybe there's some type of geography for gaming?
Indeed, I mean, in the case of Axie Infinity, you see Southeast Asia, particularly Indonesia and Malaysia, actually leading the pack, leading the front. I'd say that's because of the adoption and sort of the virality that game has kind of like taken course over there, and plus the way guilds operate. They actually target that audience, but it doesn't necessarily have to stop there. We have to target other regions such as Africa and South America, also Eastern Europe, Western Europe, the countries that are a bit more, I would say, economically developed. I think that the passive income opportunities should be across the globe, where it kind of like lays the foundation of that attribute of passive income for the youth, to have them be a little bit more independent and have their say in an ecosystem which they are a part of, but until now they haven't had so much say into it. So that leads the whole topic of discussion into governance models and how they can influence all of this play to earn landscape, which I strongly believe they should be a part of the movement. And I think this is the time where we can actually, as you rightfully pointed out, democratize an industry and have the actual, let's say, users or people enjoying these games be a part of the decision-making process. And that's the whole moment in decentralized autonomous organizations, which, in my opinion, move hand in hand with the play-to-earn gaming ecosystem.
Before we move to DAOs and new governance standards, well, I absolutely agree that community is everything here, and such ecosystems should be governed and driven by communities. However, we can still see big brands coming into that space, right? Big gaming producers, right? Big names, corporates, also wanting to, get a piece of that pie, get a big chunk of it. How does it relate to community-driven ecosystem? Will they be codependent or will they be independent?
Well, I mean, you're right to say that corporates are kind of leaping into the space. I don't know what's their intention in terms of the, let's say, blockchain as an infrastructural layer, or whether they're just trying to grasp the whole, let's say, vision or philosophical movement of the metaverse, which is kind of like the final grail of where everything kind of will combine. I mean, you see Facebook paying $10 billion last year to actually rebrand itself into Meta, and another 30 to 40 billion to actually change its business model and invest furthermore in their Oculus, let's say VR enabled ecosystem. And that's, good for the industry because it shows another path, the traditional path of how they actually contribute and advance the whole momentum. So it's the more of them they participate in the industry, it's actually better because even though we're kind of going against them and democratizing the whole value distribution and redistribution, they are, abiding by rules. They are publicly listed companies, and they will bring that, corporate mentality slash structured way of how to do the R&D and move things forward. A lot of money has shifted in the past in 2021 in terms of the regrouping. You have Amazon Games doing all kinds of purchases, Microsoft as well, Blizzard, Activision. All of these guys are very active in the space. Not necessarily in the play to earn, or let's say the future metaverses, because in my honest opinion and to my peers and collaborators, the metaverse doesn't exist. We're all kind of going after it and trying to build the infrastructure to get there, but we're still kind of operating in a virtual reality type of Oculus in environment. The building blocks for the metaverse, I think there are many suits out there that are kind of like complementing each other with what needs to happen. And I think we're about 5 to 10 years time to get to where we need to be. And actually in about 10 years time, the whole metaverse industry, however you want to call it, will be, a $30 trillion opportunity where not just all value-based encounters and interactions and personal data monetization efforts will kind of stream into.
Well, that's the whole point of what we call creators economy, right? So that we can eliminate the middleman between, let's say, an artist or asset owner or let's say an artist audience, right? So that they can interact directly. I guess that's the whole point of decentralized system of the metaverse, whatever it's there or not yet, right? Because and it's up to big gamify companies and big players to give people more choices, right? So the more power is given to communities, the stronger metaverse is. So in your understanding, should it be centralized or decentralized? Should it be private or should it be public? Or any metaverse player should decide for themselves? That's more of a question, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, like you put in there everything what we actually have right now or where we're actually going to go. In my opinion, it should be all of those sorts, right? It should be the right. User, the participants to choose whether he wants to participate in an openly governed decentralized autonomous organization, which I think we're still not there yet. There are examples, there are movements in terms of the philosophy and how to actually structure all of these governance mechanisms of the future. I think all of these topics should be and philosophies should be left for the user to choose. If he wants to, let's say, give its time to Meta and not be a part of a monetization scheme where he controls and is a part of a revenue share mechanism, sure, why not? I mean, we are doing that. I mean, you are doing it, I'm doing it. We're all on Facebook, we're all on Instagram, we're all on WhatsApp. We know exactly what is happening, yet we still choose to do that just because of that one element you mentioned, the power of the community. The community is there. If we are all on WhatsApp, I mean, even if you have other types of messaging apps that kind of like redistribute some sort of minimal value, we're still not choosing to go there just because there is not enough community. There's not enough a critical mass in order to popularize those things. So effectively, in the technological layer, and distributed ledger technologies being at the basis of it, we have all of these tools enabled, but the critical mass is not there yet in order to popularize it to a level where we all actually participate, join, protect our data, monetize it whenever we want to, not whenever some other corporation wants it. So in that regard, I'd say the more people engage in distributed autonomous organizations and help advance this philosophical approach of the future of how governance and how economical activity should be structured, whether on a macro or micro level, the better we will be. And I mean, with a simple search in Google of distributed, decentralized autonomous organization, who they are, you will find, probably thousands of groups and micro groups trying to do something. So the way I would put it is, find your place within these groups, contribute your time and efforts, and advance the whole philosophy, because that would be key and instrumental to the future decentralized, let's say, micro-organized Facebooks and WhatsApps and Instagrams, where we are all part of the revenue share and redistribution of wealth. Pretty much, find your place. If you're fine with Facebook, like I am at currently, just because there is no other alternative, we're kind of left in that particular ecosystem.
Right. That's what I like actually about DAOs, is that, it's both. It's algorithm, right? And it's your personal responsibility too. And it's the collective responsibility acting at the same time. But I like that you mentioned the data management, because, data ownership, data management, privacy are, those very important questions and terms which are being discussed in terms of metaverse development a lot these days. And are we actually ready to deal with the challenges of cybersecurity and managing that huge, absolutely vast amount of personal data, including personal data, right? And the collective data too. What kind of, other than, trying to manage micro communities, what kind of regulation probably is needed to make metaverse a safer place, or even like a particular gaming environment? How do you ensure that this is a healthy and safe place for every user?
I mean, definitely. If you let's say divide the market cap value of Facebook in terms of its user base, it will get that one user in Facebook is actually worth at around $2,000 average revenue per year. Now, geographically across, it's different, but that's kind of the average, 2,000 plus or minus. That is based on what? The applications Facebook provides us, the monetization? No, it's actually based on the data we contribute to Facebook, them analyzing it and then feeding us back with targeted advertisement. So in the eyes of Facebook, we're not really Oля and Vlatko. We're just a metadata point based on psychographic analysis. They put us in the box and they say, okay, Oля, is concerned more about safety and security, and that's why we think that she needs to see advertisement about Jeeps, about something more stable, and Vlatko, is more adventurous. He needs to see advertisement about supercars. So they put us all in a bucket, and then they try to kind of
manipulate
target
attention too.
Definitely. I mean, it's a propaganda tool, but more on the marketing side of things. And then we know what has been happening in terms of elections, how they influence all of these efforts. So at the end of the day, to them, we're not Vlatko and Oya. We are actually, some kind of a bucket list based on our metadata and what we have and how we have engaged with the platform itself, with the community, with our friends, and they just target and stream advertisement or other type of content in particular. Now, you said whether it needs to be regulated or not regulated. I mean, it doesn't really matter. You have in the European Union the GDPR, which is kind of like you need to address the whole safekeeping and how you manage and what you do with the data. But that's on like corporate level. We don't really know afterwards what really happens, and it's okay. It's a good starting point. It's better, let's say, than what it was before 2015. Um, but it's a starting point. I'm a huge fan of self regulatory environments, and that's why I advocate on all of these new moments that would arrive with distributed ledger technologies and the safekeeping of data in non-fungible tokens type of environment. Now, not the art, not the JPEGs type of NFTs, but rather the more utilitarian based NFTs. I believe that in the future we will all have our own token as an NFT, and all our data will sit nicely and idly there, and we will be the ones that actually decide, okay, whether we allow Facebook to access our metadata in order for them to feed us some type of advertisement or not. There are many interesting companies actually out there that do some kind of let's say data protection. The Brave search engine, that's a very good, let's say, initiative. It has nothing to do with regulation. It's just a product that they're putting out there. Of course, you know, few more advancement there are needed. There's one very interesting company out of the United States. It's called Massive, joinmassive.com. And what these guys do is they take, let's say, a percentage of your CPU power on your computer that you don't use and it sits there unused. They mine some cryptocurrencies with that residual, let's say, power, and on the back of it, they are actually blocking all of the advertisement that would potentially come into you while you're, let's say, Google searching or whatever, and are kind of protecting you from that. Of course, there is a trade-off here. There is always a trade-off.
Yeah.
But you know, I think we are at the very beginning of what protection of personal data should look like, and I think that's, you know, that's a huge fight for every individual to actually, you know, maintain its proprietary data private, and then at an instant decide whether to release it or not release it. I think we are, you know, a long way to self-sovereign identities. I don't think it will be something government introduced or, let's say, law introduced, because there are so many industries depending on consumer research, market research, how the let's say the potential market behaves. I mean, billions of dollars of industries are actually depending on these metadata, and it would be very difficult for legislation to trickle down from top. I think it should be from a bottom-up approach where the communities actually stand behind just technologies and promote these types of activity. Because we were talking about Facebook and how the power of community has built such, let's say, enormous giants in listed companies. And now, if 20 years ago the oil companies were at the top, now all the data mongers are there in the top 5. So these are the projects that I advocate, you know, people, the communities should stand behind, and just, you know, try to establish that critical mass of micro organizations in order to get some kind of traction and take away from the dominance of the large corporations.
Well, COVID has taught us many lessons, I think, over the last several years, and self-sovereign IDs are one of the best use cases when it comes to tracking your health records, which is again a very private issue, very personal data, which needs to be very carefully maintained, and it's up to every country regulatory efforts to try to make that again safe for everyone. Well, let's get back to gaming communities. Based on your Earn.games experience, what does it take for, let's say, a traditional game developer to, transfer his or her efforts to the world of blockchain gaming?
Oh, they just need to contact us. No, I mean,
Right.
there's a bit more to it. So, like you rightfully pointed out in the beginning, like users and gamers are all about developing in-game assets, building up a character, playing strategy games, amassing XYZ, tally on whatever combats or strategic plays they do. So it actually is just a continuation of that step, but rather with blockchain and distributed ledger technology, you actually own and can trade those in-game assets or in-game NFTs either within the game or out of the game. So for us, this is what we do at, let's say, at the fourth stage of information of the fourth stage of incubation. We are able to take actually any game, regardless of what type it is, and introduce and integrate blockchain ledgers to actually be able to monetize and transact amongst the gamers, either inside of the game or outside of the game. And that's actually one of our pillars of Earn.games, the incubation efforts. And we come in on the early stage, mid stage, and final stage of game development, and the fourth side, which is blockchain integration of games that are already developed and just want to, let's say, experience that new momentum of the gaming world.
So what's the next step for Earn.games? What's your plans for the next couple of years, or maybe until the end of the year? It's hard to plan long term these days.
Yeah, you're right, because the space kind of moves very quickly. But I mean, the commitments and the philosophy is very clear for us. Incubation is one arm, a marketplace where we provide a DeFi 2.0 environment for in-game and out-of-game NFTs and properties, and a launchpad which will allow user communities to actually benefit on the upside of all of these, let's say, new in-game and out-of-game assets. I mentioned DeFi 2.0. DeFi 2.0 actually, it's a more integrated type of DeFi and CeFi environment where you have less, let's say, fees associated with transaction, not so much slippage environments, predictability in trades and transactions. And another two elements which we're actually employing as an innovation in Earn.games is borrowing and lending functions and mechanism against in-game and out-of-game NFTs. This will be revolutionary. It will be backed by discovery oracles in order to address and evaluate the right price of that particular NFT. A little bit different to what OpenSea does, not just based on the volume and the transaction, but the actual value, depending on the ecosystem where that particular NFT is used. Another function which the platform provides is mint for mining property, which tells that games and communities can mint in-game NFTs and other types of assets outside of its gaming environment. So kind of like mystery boxes, let's say campaigns, promotional efforts in order to maintain a sort of like a marketplace type of, let's say, interaction with gamers and get them to let's say be a position of a liquid environment where they can buy and sell anything that they develop or hoard in a game. In terms of let's say, where we are and where we are going to be in the next year, we have divided our roadmap in very simple three phases in environment. Phase one is the finalization of the platform and the marketplace, which we are almost ready to launch. We are just doing the final testings in-house. We have as well about 4 games that are currently we're supporting on the incubation phase, with healthy communities, with in-game assets that are, some of them are actually developed by us from early stages, and other ones we've just integrated the blockchain, or let's say in-game monetization functionalities thereafter. And phase 2 is almost going to be finalized, and we're launching very soon, actually the whole platform plus a couple of games on it. And we're now into phase 2 mode, which is divided in 3 subsections. Community build out and community participation, which actually leads into the whole DAO governance philosophy, which we want to establish together with the support of the community. And I believe this is the most interesting part of Earn.games, because we are actually willing to engage with the community to establish the rules of the game and how that marketplace will function in the near future. And thereafter, on the DAO mechanism to sit on top, and then vertically position all of the sub-interest groups to have them managed in a governance manner type of ordered fashion. We're currently actually finalizing the strategy, and we will do a push in about a week time or so in order to invite communities, gamers, and users to contribute to this new momentum. Phase 3, which is, you rightfully pointed out, a long-term commitment in crypto, is actually 6 months from now, and then up to a year, completely different from the traditional world, which that would be a short-term commitment. We're developing the Earn.games Academy. We're in discussions with few university groups in the United States actually to provide online curriculums of US accredited degrees. The first one we're starting, actually, it's the first e-gaming university degree ever that is going to be established in a higher institution, and provide accessibility to the youth and adolescents in the developing world to be able to obtain a university degree while receiving, or while getting passive income. Some people like to call that learn to earn, or earn to learn. We actually call it play to earn, play to learn, because there are 2 functionalities, and one is the passive income scheme that we're deploying through the conventional, let's say, games, and the play to learn model, which is the obtaining of a US accredited degree through the Earn.games platform.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, this is amazing. Well, super great efforts, giving power back to the community, educating more people about, ways of income, about technological advancement, which is also very important. Well, thanks a lot. And I guess my last not a question. I would like to comment. There's a quote that I bumped into a while ago when preparing for the Meta Week, and this is more of a from a philosophical and maybe ethical standpoint, which still concerns me personally a lot. And this is about people trying to act themselves as a bridge between virtual world and the physical world, right? Because, well, at least play to earn models are a great representation of that, when you earn something in the game, something that you can actually spend or own in a real life. This is a great representation of that bridge too. But then again, there's an issue of let's say identification, ethics, and at the end of the day, mental wellness for people coming into this world and maybe going through their own struggle. So the quote that I mentioned is this: when you go into the metaverse, your avatar is a little more handsome or pretty than yourself. You have better clothes than we have in reality. The apartment is more stylish, more calm, and you take your headset off and you go to brush your teeth at the end of the night, and maybe you just don't like yourself in the mirror as much. I'm super worried that people are going to look at their apartment, which isn't as nice, and look at their face or their body, which isn't as nice, and say, I would rather have my headset on. So what's your take on that perfect balance between the virtual world and the real world? And where is actually our place in that? I know it's a tough one, but
Well,
I'll ask you about it.
it is a tough one, definitely. I mean, like, just like in anything in life, you need to consume in moderate quantities and figure out that exit valve, right? Like the exit valve, it cannot really come from your digital interaction. It needs to come from the real world. And the more you actually have meaningful relationships in the real world, the better you will be in the digital world. But what you say, actually, it's been happening not just, let's say, in the future immersion of metaverses and our digital, let's say, representations and avatar. We see it happening on Facebook. We see it happening on Instagram. We see it already happening on TikTok. And it's actually a worrying topic. Definitely, psychologists need to spend more time in evaluating and kind of decontaminating the youth and adolescents of all of these moments, because again, we're going back to the topic. Facebook, all of these guys, they don't really care whether you engage with the real world just as much as you engage with the digital world. They're worried only about the digital side of things and how and what actually keeps you coming back to Instagram, coming back to Facebook, coming back to TikTok. So, I think there are much better equipped and professional people that should address these topics. I really think that a healthy balance between the physical and the digital worlds are needed, because the digital realm will actually get even more intensified, and we don't want to lose ourselves as individuals into the whole, let's say, imaginary slash flashy life of digital assets and things and interactions we do. That's my advice to everybody. Find that balance, whether it is 20/80 or 40/60 or 50/50 or 10% in the digital side, 90% in the real world. It's up to each individual to actually maintain a healthy psyche.
And maybe being part of a decentralized community and self-governed community can be, a key to solving these issues. Well, thank you so much, Vlatko Gigov, CEO of Earn.games. Thank you so much for being with us. Thank you for this talk, and let's keep in touch. Thank you.
It's been my pleasure. Thank you, Raya. God bless. Bye-bye.